Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Jure Show, everybody. It is Friday, August 22nd. The weekend is upon us, and so is summer, by the way. We've only got one more week left of August, and then we hit September. Time flies, doesn't it? Thanks again for being here to get all the relevant, groundbreaking news here in the United States, around the world, where the facts are facts and hard truths always thrive. Please be sure to hit that like button, follow the show, and share it with friends when you can. I do appreciate when you do that. Let's get ready now for the best hour that radio has to offer, uncensored and ready to go. You know what's really shocking to me? That they would drop this on a Friday afternoon. I saw this on Fox today. I said, I've got to talk about this on the show today. The Justice Department released hours of interview, all this tape between the top federal prosecutor and Ghislaine Maxwell. This is the only person that's been convicted or held civilly liable for the role, and of course in the Jeffrey Epstein cases, she was his girlfriend. And Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche sat down with Maxwell in a federal prison in Tallahassee, where she's now being held. And in the interview, she actually denies having trafficked anyone and having witnessed any non-consensual sexual activity or sex involving minors. Now, let's stop for a moment and think about this. She was just found guilty in the court of law by a jury for sex trafficking. And of course, she's given 20 years. So you have to sit there and say to yourself, what evidence was presented during this court case? We have no idea. We're never told anything. Now, she goes on and says several things, though, that, of course, make Donald Trump look good. She said she never witnessed President Trump doing anything inappropriate with anybody. So she, of course, then shot down claims of former President Bill Clinton had even traveled to Epstein's Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And she said that the Clintons were her friends, not Epstein's. So we're getting all these 180s all over the place. She actually tried to say Bill Clinton did not go to Epstein Island. We know. We've seen the flight logs going to the island. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean you've done something illegal. But you're going there 26 times and you don't know what's happening on this creep's island, on his property. He's got a temple on this island. He has a operating chair in his shower. I mean, what is all this about? And you have no idea what's going on? How longer can you plead any ignorance on this? Because this doesn't make any sense at all to me. That she's just 180 and she says, well, you know, him and Trump were sort of friends. They were just in the same social circles. I mean, we have pictures of them hanging out with each other. Again, not saying that Trump has done anything illegal. Far from it. But I'm just saying they knew each other. They were friends. Bill Clinton obviously knew him very well. He hung out with him at least 26 times on the island. She denies, of course, there's any accusation of the so-called client list, right? Yeah, no client list at all. She has no idea anything about it. She knows. She knows. This woman's been convicted of sex trafficking minors. And everyone's going to sit here and take her word on this? Like she's sitting there telling you word for word the truth. Well, apparently it didn't work in the court of law that found her guilty. Now, I've said this to you many times again. We've gone over this in detail on the show. She was actually around in a lot of these pictures where you see some of these younger women. So to, again, plead that she never did any of this? So am I to believe that Jeffrey Epstein did all this on his own now? Just Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody else that hung out with him multiple times did any of this. And by the way, let me share one more piece of solid information. Just because, let's say, Bill Clinton didn't even go to that island, doesn't mean that he could have done anything anywhere else. We know that Epstein had the rooms in his New York City mansion or pad or whatever you want to call it, bugged with recording devices. Yeah, the room was, you were able to record what's happening in the room when someone was in there. Why would you do that? Let me ask you this. Would he do that just for himself, you think? Bug every room in his house just so he can have that data against him? That seems very odd, folks. But we're never given any explanation to this. We know he had everything bugged. So the big question now is, why? Just him? Nobody else? Nobody knows what's going on. Prince Andrew doesn't know what's going on even though he's dished out money? Do JP Morgan Chase or Deutsche Bank know anything about this? That's dished out lots of money, hundreds of millions of dollars worth. I think almost $800 million, at least, has been kicked back to victims of this. Of which we know there are about 250, at least. Probably much more. But if we have victims, you're saying that Epstein was the only person that committed any type of crime against these young women? These minors? It's a bit hard to believe, folks. I have to be honest with you. It's a bit hard to believe here. Let's see. Then she was asked something interesting, too. And I don't have the audio for, but she was asked about her father in the intelligence community. And she didn't really give much of an answer to it. She just said, oh, yeah, I believe he worked in intelligence. But sometimes she was saying, you know, once you're in intelligence, you're always in intelligence. Right? So he wasn't necessarily employed by anybody, but we know that he has ties to Mossad in Israel. And by the way, he was a dual Israeli citizen also. So there's so many things we can point to with this, that Epstein has these close ties to very powerful people. And then the other bigger question is, okay, let's say it was just Epstein. Why, after he was convicted in 2006, did Les Wexner give him, I think it was $77 million? He's got all this money. He's many times over. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars. What service is he providing to all these people? So Epstein is gone. By the way, she said that too. She said she didn't believe that he killed himself. I don't believe he killed himself either. I don't even think he's dead. I think he's alive still. That's my take. That's my own position on that. You don't have to hold that position. That's another odd situation. You have the camera right in front of the door that goes into the hallway where his cell is, and all of a sudden, 1 minute, he's just always missing at the same time every evening in resets. Just at the time he, tries to commit suicide with paper blankets. Yeah, man. She said Donald Trump is. What did she say? She said something very flattering to Donald Trump, that he handled himself well throughout all this. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. But she is so looking for a partner right here. This is what I'm thinking right now. She's trying to put the information out there to spin all this. So everyone goes, oh, okay, it was just Epstein. Epstein's a creep. We got that. He was already arrested for being a creep. She's okay. She doesn't know anything about it. She's just kind of, there by acquaintance, if you will. And they either reduce the sentence or they pardon her. Because, how could you hold someone in jail that apparently isn't sex trafficking people? Wrongly convicted. Right? That's what's, again, being asserted right now with this whole case. Very odd stuff with this. We didn't learn anything new. She's just simply denying what we've all been told about this. So I think we'll hear more about this as this time goes on. We'll be able to break down much of what she has obviously been talking about. But the main thing that we can do, not we as in you and I, but the Justice Department can do, if there's no client list as being told to us, nothing was written down. Okay, fine. You can look at flight logs, though, going to various locations where these crimes were said to have been committed. The island, New York City. He has houses all over the place. He has houses in Paris and what have you. You find out who's gone to these locations. You sit the witnesses down, and you basically tell them to tell you, who did you see? What happened to you? And that's how you build a case from that. Now you can actually work. You can have maybe other people saw this person at the location, right? There were hundreds of girls, allegedly. So this is how you build a case. This is how they have to go about doing it now. Now, do I think that'll happen? Probably not. But that would be a way to do it if there is no client list. Which, again, is odd to me because Pam Bondi said the client list was on her desk waiting for her to review, right? Right? She said, everything's on my desk. What about the client list? Oh, it's on my desk. And all of a sudden, it doesn't even exist. No one knows a thing about it. Very convenient. I gotta say. A little ironic, too, if I'm not being too facetious about this. Odd stuff here. I mean, if she walks, this will kill the Republican Party here. Because no one is going to trust them again after this. If she walks. She's already been moved to a different prison location. It's a little bit easier on the inmates. But this is an evil woman. This is a manipulative woman. She is a liar, obviously. You're not going to convict someone for 20 years without any evidence. There has to be evidence there. And this is what we should be told about this. What is the evidence? Because again, we're going to all have cameras in there. It happened during COVID. You knew everything about Johnny Depp's stupid court case with his moronic wife that nobody gives a damn about. But this case, something very important that could link to blackmailing politicians, donors, the elite, you name it. We don't know a thing about this. It's a awful situation. Awful situation. So I'm going to keep my eye on this now, and I'm not going to let this go. I'm going to keep talking about it every time we get new information about this, and they better start getting the ball rolling on this. Because again, people are not going to accept this verdict. Not at all. You know, another interesting thing that happened today was the FBI raided John Bolton's house today in Bethesda, Maryland. I mean, can you believe this? All these things are happening today on Friday. Again, as if, it's not odd or anything. This is the Federal. It says, no one is above the law. FBI raids home of former National Security Advisor John Bolton. So obviously this was approved by Kash Patel. And they raided his home at 7 a.m. The investigation was ordered by Kash Patel. And basically they were suggesting that they were going after him because of classified documents that he had, of which he leaked it into his book, by the way. So this investigation began in 2020. Now, according to this official that's given this information, the same year Trump's first Justice Department launched a criminal inquiry into Bolton's alleged disclosure of national security secrets. In his book, The Room Where It Happened, right? Okay, they all write books about Donald Trump, right? Now, you don't have to like Donald Trump. What the hell do I care? But you can't go out and just release classified information. Now, that investigation came after Trump fought to quash its publication over its inclusion of national secrets, saying that Bolton broke a non-disclosure agreement that he had signed, which was a condition of his employment, right? As a national security advisor, you just can't go telling everyone secrets. He's handling lots of different types of intelligence. Now, Bolton has not been arrested or he hasn't been charged with any crimes as of yet. But this is, again, another situation where this has been presented. And, again, nothing happens for years, right? This was a case in 2020. And the Biden administration just sat on their hands on this. Nothing was done about this. It's very convenient. So, appearing on MSNBC in August of 2022 to discuss the matter, that would be, obviously, the raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate down in Florida, Bolton expressed his belief that Trump didn't care about the classification system or appreciate the sensitivity of this information. Meanwhile, he's out there putting secrets in a book, possibly even sharing them with foreign governments, leaking it to the press. You can't operate a government like this when you have people that act like this. And isn't it odd, Biden, when he was senator, he also goes into the SCIF, he takes out classified documents, and nothing happens. Right? Remember Robert Hearst said he was just a nice old man or whatever the hell he tried to say about him? Because he's too mentally inept to even think? Well, the same thing. How does John Bolton get away with taking classified information, keeping it in his possession, putting it in a book, by the way, and having that book published? And obviously, he has some information to put in that book. He's got other information as well. Now you've got to worry about the risk of other people getting involved in this. So it's not good. It's not good at all. So unless he's leaking the Epstein files, I really don't care. But, we saw this big situation with Donald Trump, right? They have to go raid Donald Trump's house, which Bolton was very much behind, by the way. And what did Trump do? Trump is allowed to take classified documents. They are his documents. They're like, well, he stored them incorrectly. He put them in his bathroom. He can put them wherever he wants. Bill Clinton had audio files in his sock drawer, for God's sakes. The Supreme Court said that was okay. But not Donald Trump. Donald Trump has to, I guess, create a special room, lock it up safe. Otherwise, they've got to raid his house with orders to shoot people. Go through the First Lady's drawers and whatnot. The former sitting president. They raid his house. And, of course, we find out the charges against Trump are dropped later on. Not a shock. We're seeing this all over the place. These cases against him where we're saying, 91 counts. And, of course, they're all just dropping like flies. They took out 2 of Jackass Smith's cases, but they're gone. Now, this case about liability is civil liability for overestimating his real estate value is now getting dropped right now as well. One of many. And, of course, it's all done to delegitimize Donald Trump. That's all these things were for. That's all. So we'll see again what happens with Mr. Bolton, if there's anything that happens to him as a result of this. Probably not. We never see anything happen to these high-ranking people. And it wouldn't shock me if nothing at all happened to this. But it is good to see that at least they're being somewhat consistent and holding people accountable for the things that they are doing. Now, to expound on what I was just talking with everybody about, we had the Trump case that was just thrown out yesterday. And, of course, that was the $500 million civil fraud fine that was put on him by AG Letitia James in New York. This case was ridiculous from the start. I mean, I even looked at this right in the beginning when this was happening. I couldn't even believe this. They were trying to assert that Donald Trump overvalued his real estate to get a bank loan, a favorable bank loan. And the claim was that he lied about that. And by lying and exaggerating, they were able to fine him for this and then charge him with a civil liability. Now, keep in mind, Donald Trump, I tried to say his real estate was worth, I think, $18 million. He said it was more than this. Obviously, I think Mar-a-Lago itself is worth well over $1 billion. But this is, again, another case that's got no victim with this. It's not like the banks came to Letitia James and said, we've been ripped off by this man. He didn't pay us back or what have you. They actually said they want to do business with him again. Let's understand this. We have someone going to get a loan. Now, Donald Trump can say whatever hell he wants. He thinks his properties are worth. It doesn't matter. The bank will come in and appraise what they feel that it's actually worth, and they will make a loan based on that, and they will come to an agreement. It doesn't just go in there and say, hey, give me this much money. My real estate is worth X amount. And they say, okay, and just throw it at them. That's not how it works. So the end result of this was just this huge victory for Trump again. The New York Appeals Court threw out more than a $500 million fine that he owed in Attorney General Letitia James' business fraud case. The appellate division, the first department, overturned the whopping $464 million judgment against Donald Trump. And they're right about this. This is the case with Judge Engoron. 2 left-wing radical Democrats, again, using the justice system as lawfare to go against Donald Trump. I mean, the woman ran on going against Donald Trump. She's going to sue him. She's going to get him. It never ended. It never ended. But the idea that this woman is not even disbarred for the vitriolic things that she was saying from the start. Take a listen.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass.
I will never be afraid
to challenge this illegitimate president.
We need to focus on Donald Trump. We need to follow his money.
What is fueling my soul right now is Trump.
This illegitimate president. I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day.
There we go. Suing him. This is a woman running for the highest law enforcement position in the state of New York, the Attorney General's position. And she's running on going after someone. This is Soviet textbook style accusations. You show me the person, I'll show you the crime. This is exactly the same thing. Donald Trump made a business deal. Let's go find something with this that we don't like. We'll keep him held up in court. That way he can't run for office. I said this to you before. Donald Trump ran, and they were putting him in these positions to weigh him down in court so he couldn't get out on the campaign trail. When that all started failing, when it all started falling apart, then they had to get rid of Biden because he couldn't beat him. It wasn't going to happen. But the 5-judge panel kept in place this ban on Trump and his 2 eldest sons, Don Jr., Eric Trump, and the Trump Organization from running a company in New York for several years. I don't understand this at all. If he's not guilty enough to pay a fine, which they claim was cruel and unusual punishment, violating the 8th Amendment, how are you going to sit there and say, no, everything else is legit? When there is no victim in this case, folks. No victim. Yep, and the ruling kept in place in order for an outside monitor to oversee and file reports on the Trump Organization's business dealings for 3 years. So ridiculous. It's absolutely pathetic, if you ask me. Now, these judges that sat on this panel, though, I have to say they're pretty solid. One judge said that Engoron, I keep thinking of the president of Turkey here, made a mistake by ruling that Trump was liable for fraud before the bench trial. So again, they make this claim before he's even got to court. He's got to prove his innocence before he's even been convicted of anything. And they just seem full on with this. Remember when Engoron released the information that he was going to be found guilty before the ruling even took place? The verdict wasn't even heard yet, and he leaked this information. Somebody on the jury panel. And now another justice, David Friedman, said that Letitia James did not have the authority to bring the case against Trump in the first place. This is what I've been saying to you. Noting that institutions that lent the money, that'd be Deutsche Bank, to the president could have sued him if they felt aggrieved. But they didn't. They said they paid him back in full, plus the interest, and they said they want to do business with him again. So what's the problem here? You exaggerated his real estate claim? I mean, no one's ever heard of this. This has never happened before. Nothing like this has ever happened before. It's absolutely pathetic. I'm sure these other charges on him will drop at some point. But this idea that, he can't run his business in New York, they're going to be under scrutiny, is just ridiculous in and of itself, I'd have to say. So, I mean, a big win for Donald Trump, though. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. By the way, he got a California bank to put up the money for him when he was during the appellate proceedings. And now they've got to go get that money back from the state of New York, it seems like. I mean, what bank is going to go and put their money on the line for a guy apparently who was ripping off the banks? This is how stupid the whole thing is. And what a sum of money, too. Where'd they even come up with this sum for him? They try to do everything they can to take wealth from Donald Trump. That's really as clear as it can get with this case. Now, speaking of degenerate Democrats, and my God, there's plenty of them, The Hill has a good article saying that the California Supreme Court rejects the GOP effort to halt Newsom's redistricting push. So as many of you know, Gavin Newsom is, of course, trying to push for redistricting in the state of California. And now the Supreme Court on Wednesday rejected a petition filed by the state Republican legislators seeking to halt Gavin Newsom's plan to redistrict the congressional maps in the state of California in the middle of the year, really. They're supposed to do it every year that ends in a 0, by the way. I'm going to read that to you in just a moment. But they stated that the petitioners have failed to meet their burden of establishing a basis for relief at this time under California Constitution Article 4, Section 8. And all that really means is that they require for any bills, so for example, this bill that is being passed, to be read and acted upon in the notice period before a vote. So again, they don't want people to rush things through. That's what Kevin McCarthy did in the House. And the conditions under which statutes can take effect. It specifies that no bill may be passed unless it is read by title on 3 separate days in each house. Well, that didn't happen, right? So the bill states that no bill except the budget bill may be acted upon until 31 days after its introduction, unless a 3/4 majority agrees to waive this requirement. Now, the California Assembly has a supermajority, I know. I don't know if it's a 3/4, though. It might be. But that clearly didn't happen here. That clearly didn't happen, even though I'm sure they all would do such a thing like that. So they're trying to jam this through as quickly as they can. Gavin Newsom is playing politics. He's trying to be ideological, and he's being very partisan. So what he's trying to do, he is suggesting that the redistricting that's taking place in Texas allows him to create this special election now in November to get voters' approval on a more favorable House map for Democrats in California, just in time for the 2026 midterms. So he wants to take 5 California seats. There are only 9 Republican districts in California, of I believe 52. We lost a couple thanks to good old Newsom. Good old Noodles, good old hair gel. That's him. Yep. The genius that he is. The exodus of California has caused us to lose a couple seats. So he wants less Republican representation coming out of California because he views what Texas is doing, which they have a right to, by the way, according to their constitution, to go through and redistrict in the middle of the cycle that we normally would. They do it every census year, right? So they would redraw, and of course you have those maps for 10 years. The difference with Texas, though, here's the big difference with Texas. One, you have a lot of people moving into Texas right now. A lot of people. Now, their population, obviously, can change how many electoral votes, how many congressional seats they have. Because, again, there's this massive wave of people and businesses moving into Texas ever since COVID. Many have come from California, by the way. So the idea that the state is gaining so much population and continuing to grow right now, they want to do this again. Now, they think they're going to get 5 extra seats. That's what they're claiming. So Gavin Newsom doesn't like this because Gavin Newsom wants to run for president in 2028. He wants to have as many Democratic districts as possible because he knows the Democrats are losing. They're not signing people up to vote as much as they ought be. In fact, right now, as of late, there's 2.4 million more registered Republicans in this last cycle than Democrats. There's something changing in this country, folks. And they're responding to this. So they're all upset about this. They act like they've never done this before, by the way, too. So Gavin Newsom is basically saying it's unconstitutional, it's radical to do this, and everything under the sun. But he's going to go do it. That'd be like saying Texas is allowing in illegal aliens so they can vote. That's illegal. I'm going to open up my border so they can come in and vote. I mean, it's just moronic. Absolutely moronic. So, of course, Newsom has hit back at Republican redistricting efforts in the state of Texas for pushing for special elections this November. And what he wants to do, he's going to take $250 million that has been allocated for Prop 36 that passed in 2024. Prop 36 was put into place so there would be more law enforcement in the state of California, which he has now designated to the counties. He said, the counties can handle it. I'm not going to get involved in this. So he's not funding it. Instead, he's going to take that money that's been allocated for it, and he's going to push the $250 million to run this proposition this fall in a special election so he can get more Democratic representation in the state of California. You know, folks, there are so many things that, you could say about things like this. And this is all about power. At the end of the day, this is all about power. Gavin Newsom wants power. He doesn't care about Democrat. He doesn't care about Republican. He cares about power. And he will violate the law to get that power. Now, the California Constitution, for the redistricting of the Senate, Assembly, and congressional seats, as well as the Board of Equalization, here's what the first article, this is passed in 2010, overwhelmingly in the state of California. And the first provision in this bill says the Citizens Redistricting Commission, that's the commission that writes these districts in. They're the ones that draw it. It's supposed to be a nonpartisan commission, even though it likely is. They have 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 independents. I'm sure all left-leaning. I'm sure whoever the hell they pick, they're going to play favorites with the Democrats, of course. But nonetheless, it's not supposed to be drawn by the legislature, which they already have the districts written out, apparently. So, shall be created no later than December 31 in 2010, and each year ending in the number 0 thereafter. Now, folks, last I checked, it's 2025. It's no longer 2020. And Gavin Newsom is simply trying to, again, use his money that he just doles out to try to get what he wants. And the California Supreme Court is going right over with him. This commission is supposed to conduct an open and transparent process enabling full public consideration of and comment on the drawing of these district lines. Yeah, do you think that's happening? They've already got the districts. Have you seen it? Anyone listening in California? Of course not. They're not being transparent about a damn thing. They know what they want. They know exactly what they're doing. So this is what Californians find themselves in. By the way, 2/3 of Californians that have been polled by Politico have said they don't want this. They don't want to spend the money on this. They don't want to vote on this. They want it as is. That's an independent commission. So the opinion hasn't really changed since 2010. The only thing that's changed is we have Gavin Newsom in office right now. This is the same guy who was out in South Carolina when there's the Madre fire burning up 80,000 acres, and he's trying to run for president in 2028. So it shouldn't shock you that he's, again, trying to break the law. It's just who he is. He doesn't care about Californians. And by the way, since we're on Gavin Newsom right now, I'll share this with you. By the way, I just saw this today. The properties on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, Gavin Newsom has got outside, that means foreign investors, buying up $65 million worth of lots right off the coastline in Malibu. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? You have houses still in ruins. There's been nothing picked up in many regards. It's supposed to be, a speedy process. Nothing is speeding up. No one's getting their houses rebuilt. Very few, by the way, are up and moving. So you still drive by PCH, you'll still see houses in ruins, and it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful that 7 months later, people still have no access to their homes. People don't know where to go in many regards. I was watching on YouTube. This is a guy who does some great work going into cities and interviewing people. I forgot his name. Peter something. I can't think of his last name. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. But he does great work. And he was interviewing someone who is doing the rebuilding. He said, you know what? This is going to take X number of days. He goes, this guy that's in this house right now has got to live in San Diego while they go and figure out all this legal nonsense. And they're looking through, they're saying, oh, yeah, that lot's burned, this lot's burned. Everything's, pretty much in ruins still. Right when you drive down PCH, you'll see these beautiful beach houses that set right on the water. Just gone. And now you have foreign investors coming in to buy up this land. This is the exact same thing they did in Lahaina, Hawaii, folks. Get other people to come in and buy. Get these people that have lived there for decades out. And again, a lot of people that have been there, this old money that's been in the Palisades, let's say their parents bought the house in, 1950 or so. They're not going to be able to have the money to go in and put the millions of dollars down on a new house to build, especially this day and age. So what's going to happen is someone else is going to buy them out cheap, and they're going to have to go someplace else and live. It's all part of the plan, folks. All part of the plan. This guy makes me sick. I can't stand him. And then he had the nerve to say this just yesterday.
This is radical rigging of a midterm election. Radical rigging of an election. Destroying, vandalizing this democracy, the rule of law. So I'm sorry. I know some people's sensibilities. I respect and appreciate that. But right now, with all due respect, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these in the mouth. This is radical.
Yeah. Who the hell's he going to punch with about this putz? What's he going to do? Who's he going to punch? I love how he tries to get all tough behind the camera, like he's Mr. Tough Guy. You know, his nickname was Noodles because his arms are about 6 inches in diameter. Everybody got the COVID shot. He walked up. Everyone's like, "My God, this guy ever see a weight in his life?" Now he's threatening people. So he's saying this is radicalism. This is illegal. Hey, I'm going to do it too because of Texas. Well, Texas has the right to, Gavin. Your constitution, which is a states' rights issue, has nothing. What happens in Texas has nothing to do with what happens in California, unless, of course, you're breaking federal law, which you do all the damn time by bringing in illegal aliens to vote and protecting them in your illegal sanctuary state, sanctuary cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, which is a paradise for illegal aliens. Yeah, that's what it is. By the way, we don't live in a democracy, just so we're all clear on this. We don't live in a democracy, thank God. We don't live in mob rule. Otherwise, people like Gavin Newsom would just, again, stuff the boxes so that way they can take over everything. Right? That's all they do. If we didn't have a constitution that limits government, this guy would walk all over you, and then some. So don't let his stupidity and acting like he's outraged by gerrymandering when his own damn state does it. And every other single heavily blue state does as well. Illinois, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. The list goes on, these blue states. This is how they keep power, along with, again, the illegal aliens they bring into their states. They pervert election laws, showing no ID, can register the same day to vote. All this other nonsense, ballot harvesting, like in the state of California. And this is how they maintain. They figured it out. They know how to maintain power. You got to give it to these disgusting Democrats, don't you? Moving on, the New York Post says now that the ICE director vows to flood Boston with immigration agents after Mayor Michelle Wu refused to end the city's sanctuary laws. By the way, they should be cutting off all funding to this woman, by the way. She's completely breaking the law. She's putting in illegal sanctuary state laws. This is what it is. So again, Boston becomes a haven where they're not cooperating with the federal government, which trumps her city ordinance, if I may. So acting ICE Director Todd Lyons vowed to now flood Boston with these illegal aliens reside with immigration agents after Mayor Wu refused to comply with the Trump administration's order to dismantle the city's sanctuary policies. He said, "We're definitely going to flood the zone, especially in sanctuary jurisdictions." I mean, this is it. Boston, Massachusetts, they have decided to say that they are going to stay a sanctuary state, sanctuary cities. And sanctuary does not mean safer streets. It means more criminal aliens out and about in the neighborhood. But 100% you will see a larger ICE presence. And that's the way it's got to be then, folks. That's the way it's got to be. Now, it comes after the city's mayor on Tuesday publicly rejected Attorney General Pam Bondi's ultimatum to axe its sanctuary city law or risk cuts to federal funding. This is what has to happen too, by the way. This is what has to happen too. They cannot continue to allow this woman to operate like this. She is breaking the law. She is violating her oath of office. She is violating the Constitution to harbor illegal aliens in the United States. What kind of treason is this? Because that's all it is. It's treason. Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, treasonous. Rob Bonta, don't forget him. He's a commie. I think he's from Taiwan, too. So we played her the other day. We don't need to listen to her again. But this is the right move to take. If they're not going to follow it, we've got to get on the ground. And they've got to do it on their own. Same thing like here in California. I mean, this LA alone, at least 1.2 million illegal aliens reside in California. I should just be stopped here for a month solid until they get those numbers up. This is what needs to start happening. And this, you're also seeing these protests from citizens. Again, they're not siding with the rule of law that has been passed by Congress. Now, people argue, well, you've got government officials on the streets. They're tackling people, this and that. Well, folks, these people are here illegally. They have no right to be in this country. We don't know anything about these people. I heard someone saying, well, they should be going after MS-13. So anyone who's here illegally, and Tom Homan said the same thing, anyone in this country illegally is in line to be deported. That's all there is to it. Doesn't matter if you're here working. Doesn't matter if you're here for 2 days or 20 days or 20 years. If you're here illegally, you're going to be deported. Unless you follow the proper procedures, as they said already, you could do to try to keep your status. And now we've come to find out that Biden let in 20 million illegal aliens on top of the 25 million that were already here. And now we've come to find out that there's 55 million people in our nation that have violated their visas. I mean, this is absurdity. I mean, this is really crazy. So, I mean, this is just, how can a nation function like this, folks? We've got to fix our immigration laws. We've got to make sure we secure the border. They're starting to, again, build this border wall. It needs to be done by the time whoever comes in office next. I don't care if it's a Republican, Democrat, Independent. I don't care. There needs to be a secure border, solidified in the ground so they can't dismantle it and sell parts of it like the Biden administration did. And that needs to be secure to keep people out. The Biden administration was wielding open parts of the border wall so people can cross in parts like Arizona. This is what they were doing. This has got to stop. Absolutely has to stop. You have the Democrats who are siding with the criminal aliens over you. How do you feel about that, America? You feel good about that? They care about illegal aliens and their rights, which they don't have any in this country. They're of a different jurisdiction. And yet we're supposed to kowtow to them. I've never seen anything like this before. It is certainly the attitude of a nation that does not want to survive. Trump's got to get to this with these deportations. They're not nearly where they need to be. They need to kick up those numbers. And that's not me being mean or that means I hate people. We need a nation of citizenry. That's what you can't have a class of people operating underneath, this subterranean culture, not paying taxes, illegally doing this, illegally doing that. You can't survive like that as a nation. And we're starting to see that play out time and time again. So let's get these deportations up. Let's secure the southern border. Let's find the people that have overstayed their visas and wish them bon voyage soon enough. Now, speaking of people that should be said a bon voyage to, I can't even believe this is happening right now. You're never going to believe this. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. You'll remember him. He was the Maryland dad that Van Hollen went to go see, right? Went and had a drink with him at the super prison down in El Salvador. So the MS-13 gang member was released from prison in Tennessee and is now heading back to Maryland. You can't make this stuff up. Fox News stated the following. It says, Garcia has been freed from Putnam County Jail and is on his way to reunite with his family in Maryland, which his lawyer confirmed. This comes after a U.S. magistrate judge was expected to grant the release Friday as he awaits trial on federal human smuggling charge. So they released this guy. They released him back into the public. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Where is the rule of law? That they would let someone who is a MS-13 gang member, one of the most hardened gang members out there. This is a hardcore gang from El Salvador. He was convicted of, I believe, or at least he's standing trial, on human smuggling. And we want this guy to be on the streets? He's got gang tattoos. He committed domestic violence against his wife. And we're just going to let him waltz on back to Maryland? Yeah, the lawyer said today, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is free. He is presently en route to his family in Maryland after being unlawfully arrested and deported. First of all, he's not even a U.S. citizen. Not even a U.S. citizen. So how could he not be arrested? He was in line to be deported in 2019. As early as 2019, and it didn't happen. So my guess is what's going to happen. They will find him. They will make sure that he attends his... I don't know why he's in Tennessee, by the way. His jurisdiction's in Maryland. I don't understand that at all. Yeah, he's awaiting trial on federal human smuggling charges. Why are they letting this man go free? Look at this. And then you have this jerk lawyer, Sean Hecker, whoever the hell he is. He belongs in a jail cell too, it sounds like. Yeah, says, and then he was imprisoned, all because of the government's vindictive attack on a man who had the courage to fight back against the administration's continuing assault on the rule of law. This guy's a clown. What the hell's he even talking about? He was arrested. And he wasn't even arrested for being a legal alien. He's arrested on federal human smuggling charges. He's arrested for domestic abuse of his wife. Where's the Me Too movement, folks? Anywhere? Nobody cares? No, of course not. Why would they? My guess is they're going to pay Mr. Garcia a visit very, very soon. And he'll either be sent to, I believe they said he was going to go to Uganda, which I don't know why they would send him there. Or they're going to send him back to El Salvador. Yeah, look at this. Look, this is the country we're in. You have a Democratic Party that is hell-bent on destroying the country. Now, an illegal alien would just sit there and go, oh, well, doesn't matter. If I go here, I got judges in my back pocket. I'm in a blue state. I got a sanctuary state policies. Nothing's going to happen to me because the dumb Democrats are going to do everything they can to keep me in the country. It's an open door for chaos, folks. It's Cloward and Piven to a T. Overwhelm the system, the way the system has to be broken down, and then they can radically change the system. That's what they're doing here. They need to get him out of here. He needs to go back to El Salvador, wherever the hell he came from. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. And he should not be a free man in the United States. At all. Not even by the slightest. The rule of law must prevail on this. And anyone that is in his position as well, that's here illegally, that's committing crimes in America, shouldn't have the right to stay here. You're seeing the same thing play out with the Indian that he made a U-turn and 3 people got killed. Couldn't even read the street signs, folks. And yet the state of California gave him a commercial driver's license. This is what the Democrats are doing. Now, how the hell do we know that Abrego Garcia doesn't go home and beat up his wife tonight? Or do something even worse to somebody else? This is why you don't open your country up to the entire world, folks. This is why you vet people before they come into the United States. So you don't have human debris like this walking your city streets. So what, people now have to be, worried now when they drive? Because some illegal alien driving a truck who got a driver's license in the corrupt state of California was able to get that license, and then he makes an illegal U-turn and 3 people get killed? Yep, they got blood on their hands, folks. Gavin Newsom's got blood on his hands. And it is not slowing down anytime soon. Believe you me. All right, let's talk about Vladimir Putin. Yep. Now, what happened is what I thought was going to happen. Still no meeting in place between him and Zelensky. And I'm not shocked about this, but Putin demands that Ukraine surrender the Donbass, give up NATO ambitions, and keep Western troops out of the country. Exactly what I told you the other day on the show. I said this to you to a T. This is what Vladimir Putin is going to want. And people are saying, no. No, he's not going to allow NATO troops in the country of Ukraine. Learn some history. It was never going to happen. Stop bringing this up, because he is the one that's going to dictate how this war ends. And if they continue on with this position that they want NATO troops in their country or will not give up the regions, which Russia is now claiming, this war will continue on. They'll continue on. They'll pass the Dnieper River and keep heading west till they control all of Ukraine then. This is what we're seeing right now. So the Russian president met with Trump, as you know, a week ago from today, for the first Russia-U.S. summit in more than 4 years. And what I think really happened here, and a lot of people that are pretty intelligent say the exact same thing, what they're saying is that Putin really laid it out to Donald Trump. This is the reality of the situation. Now, we can't be for sure exactly what was said, but it gave Trump this position where he's going, okay, there's not going to be a ceasefire. I need to get these two to meet, and they need to hash this out. I'm not going to put troops on the ground. He said that. He's one of the first people that said that, even when the EU leaders were there. But one of the things he said that was odd was he said something about the airspace, and that was being pushed by certain generals and whatnot. I was hearing it on Fox News. Putin is not going to allow. That's even more detrimental. You have somebody controlling the air over Ukraine, where they can fly easily into Russia. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Russia is going to control that airspace. Russia is going to make sure that Ukraine is no longer a threat, that they demilitarize, that those regions that I've told you about, the 4 oblasts, along with Crimea, right? You have Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Crimea, of course, which, again, they've already annexed in 2014. They're not giving up these regions. He's going to take control of these regions, and that will become part of Russia now. And if Zelensky can get off his ass and do this, this war will end much, much quicker. But as long as they keep stonewalling him, this is going to continue on. So it doesn't matter how much arms you give them. And by the way, Putin's not stupid. He knows that all these countries have been giving them arms to, again, try to kill Russian soldiers. They know this. But the lies about this war, that Putin just wanted to invade because he wants all of Ukraine, he wants to go into the Western Europe. I mean, it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Ukraine violated the Minsk Agreement. And the Budapest Memorandum, if you want to be technical about that as well, when they started shelling ethnic Russians in the Donbass region. And Putin said, no, we're not. This is not going to stand. And that's why you saw the invasion of the Donbass in February of 2022. And Putin also knows that Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, influenced Zelensky to continue this war on. So I highly doubt he's going to be any bit sympathetic to Zelensky on this position, who's not even really legally the president anymore. Again, I don't know how that's going to play out. Someone who's really the de facto president can make any type of peace treaty with Russia. And I think Putin is going to be a little bit weary on, is this going to even be able to stand? But only time will tell, if I must say so. In the most detailed Russian-based reporting to date on Putin's offer at the summit, Reuters was able to outline the contours of what the Kremlin would like to see as a possible peace deal to end the war that has killed and injured hundreds of thousands of people. First of all, it's killed 1.8 million people. At least. 1.7 million at least. Ukrainian men. Soldiers. This is what we're going to see right now. Putin has compromised on territorial demands that he's laid out in June of 2024, which required Kiev to cede the entirety of the 4 provinces that I just mentioned to you. Kiev then rejected those terms, right? So, as long as Zelensky keeps pushing this, you're going to keep seeing this war go on. Unnecessary. There's no chance Ukraine's going to win, folks. So if you got a Ukraine flag on your car, if you wear a Ukraine flag on your lapel, they have no chance of winning. And I'm not saying it to disparage Ukrainians. I'm just saying, I'm being realistic. There is no chance in hell that they can win this conflict. And as long as you continue on with this, you are going to see people suffer and die for no reason. So I, again, want Ukraine to meet with Russia. I want there to be some kind of peace talk to at least start rolling, so maybe this conflict can end sooner rather than later. And yes, if Donald Trump can moderate it or what have you, but Donald Trump cannot be the one that proclaims the peace. It's got to come from Zelensky. He's the one that Donald Trump needs to convince to sit at the table with Vladimir Putin. And when he does, you will see peace. There's no other way to say it to you. That's it. That's got to end. So Zelensky's holding the keys to the kingdom, so he's the one that has to end it. Trump wants to end it. I think Putin wants to see it ended as well. And I think you'll see that soon enough. Once he gets the realization, it's over. And what really should happen is Trump should say, we're not giving you any more arms. It's over. So I'm done. If you want to continue on, go for it. You should tell the other NATO countries, stop giving him arms. Stop provoking him to continue on this war. End the conflict now. Tell him it's over. We're not backing you anymore. We'll help you with a peace deal if you want to negotiate. But that's it. We're done. And that's how you're going to end this conflict, folks. Sooner than later, I hope. Sooner than later. My God, how much longer can these poor people take, by the way? It's awful. One last article. This is the New York Crimes. I just saw this this afternoon. It says Gaza City and surrounding areas are officially under famine. Oh. Yeah. Whoa. We're telling the truth all of a sudden in the New York Crimes. At least 500,000 people in the enclave are facing the most severe conditions measured by the UN-backed international experts. Starvation, acute malnutrition, and death. You know, folks, this is... it's very odd that we're living through this. Such an evil phase of our history right now, that we see these things happening in Gaza City, the surrounding territories, where you're seeing people starve. You are seeing men having to walk long distances to, again, try to get to one of these humanitarian aid sites. I'm told there's only one left. Before, I think last week there were 4. Apparently now there's at least one that we know of that's sometimes operational. These men have to pass through going towards southern Gaza. And they're going to go through the Morag corridor. And this is highly militarized by Israel. And what's happening is, on the way through it, people are also getting shot, by the way. A young girl was carrying water. I believe her whole family had been killed already, but she was carrying which appears to be a bucket of water. And the IDF drone struck her. They killed her. A 6-year-old girl. And I sit here and I think about it. I go, where's the humanity in this situation? Where's the humanity in any of this? They throw food on the ground so men have to fight over it in the hopes of feeding their families? You have these and I do say hack, phony journalists in the United States going over to Israel, standing in front of food pallets with gear on, almost like a Zelensky tactic. Right, he wears the army shirt. He looks like he's ready to go to war, which he's never done before. Same thing here. They pretend they're, journalists. They wear the gear, all the armor and what have you. Helmet, this and that, right? Oh, here I am in front of all this food. There's no famine. I said, hey, putz. How about you show us all the food being distributed? Yeah, let's see you do that. Can you do that? Because all you're doing right now is standing in front of a bunch of pallets with food in them. I don't even know where the hell you are right now. This is part of the long con on this. These people lie. They don't care about telling you the truth. And, you know, there's 2 million roughly in Gaza right now, struggling with hunger. You're seeing groups like the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification now, which is made up of experts who monitor world hunger. Now they're even coming in and saying this right now. And I give them credit. And inside Israel, you had B'Tselem and Physicians for Human Rights coming in and saying, hey, this has got to stop. 300,000 people took to the streets against what Netanyahu is doing. Because they don't want to see this. So I ask you, the listener, where is the humanity in this? Why are so many people quiet about this? Why do so many people report lies? That the Palestinians are just fine. There's just a bunch of propaganda that they're being starved to death. This and that. They're being starved to death, folks. Anyone that has social media can go and look at this. It's not impossible to do. I mean, you could see it. You could see these drone strikes on people. You could see people getting shot. You could see all of this happening. All of it. And it should upset you. And it should upset you that Donald Trump called Netanyahu a war hero the other day. He called himself a war hero. In the midst of starving Palestinians that have nothing to do with what happened on October 7th, 2023. Not a thing. Not a thing at all. Everybody should be against what's happening right now. Everyone should be against this. Nobody should be applauding this. And no one should be buying into these stupid lies by Netanyahu and company, who are openly talking about expelling and ethnically cleansing all the Palestinians out of Gaza. They're saying this out loud. Yep, they're moving everyone to the south right now, into a smaller corridor, where it's the only area they can get food. It's very sad, folks. Pray for these people, please. Pray for the United States that we make better decisions, too. That's what we need to do right now. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. Share with some friends. Keep your house in order, and I will see you next time on the next Marco DeRay Show. Until then, be good. Stay busy. God bless. Have a good weekend.